Hi, everybody. We are going to finish our World War II Section 1 notes. So this is the last slide I believe we left off at. I'm going to leave it here for just a moment to give you an opportunity to write what you need to include in your notes. Most of you probably have this, but I think there were a couple of people that needed to catch up. So while they are writing, I just wanted to share with you, don't forget that you can send me a message via Canvas if you have any questions about the notes. Or you can send it via Remind, or if you have a question about an assignment, or just a general question about school or the class. At any point in this video, if you need to pause it, please do so, especially if you need to write something and I have maybe seemed to be speaking fast for you. So feel free to pause for any reason that you need to. We're going to move to the next slide. So this goes back to where we were talking in class at the very beginning about Francis Ferdinand. And honestly, his name was Franz, but often things are anglicized when it's outside or taken into the Western culture. His wife, Sophie, are both assassinated by the Serbian nationalist Gavril Principi. Then Austria issues an ultimatum on Serbia to fulfill. Serbia, of course, does not agree to this. Serbia is aligned with Russia. Okay, if you don't know what an ultimatum is you need to do this or else kind of thing. So that's what an ultimatum is, and generally you're given a time frame for it. So in the area of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, it's referred to as the Balkans. So this is an expression that we often use for this area during this time. And actually, we can even say this continues on not only during World War I, but on through even into the 1990s. So it's called the Balkan Powder Keg. Because this area was so volatile due to all the ethnic conflict. So we'll continue to see ethnic conflict again until the 1990s. So when you look at this medal, it's a medal that it was given to people of the Serbian Nationalist Party. So if you look at it, it has a black hand in it, and it has a skull on it. So what do you think this suggests about this party is what it's asking. So obviously it has to do with that they will fight till their death, okay? And they're willing to sacrifice that. So typically, as we've seen prior to this time period, after that, before that 100 years of peace, often conflicts were like this would be a very small scale. And it's usually just between a handful of countries, and sometimes it's solved quickly, sometimes it'll go on for years and years. But this one's different because of all the alliances, and the alliances all joined in very quickly, okay? So Serbia went for Russia because they were their ally. Germany then declares war on Russia. And trying to get rid of this bar here so you can see it. So France supported Russia. Despite Germany demanding they stay out of the conflict. Let me go back to the present mode here so we can get back to that. So let me... So Russia mobilized its army, and a lot of people don't realize that during World War I, many of the soldiers in all the countries rode horseback. So this is the last war that horseback is really dominant. You'll still see horseback some in World War II, but not like World War I. By World War II, we've developed all kinds of different vehicles of sorts to travel by, which are much faster and have less issues. But World War I, we still see a large number of soldiers on horses. So this is the Russian army. Okay. Germany in turn declares war on France. And as I told you before, when Germany invades Belgium, who's neutral, to attack France, then that leads to Britain, and they will declare war on Germany. Okay. Again, pause the video at any point if you need to. So when we're looking at this map, we can see the expansion to a global war. So when you look at the Allied forces, that will be the orange kind of, well, it's kind of an orangey brown, but it's in an orange, more of an orange tone. The Central Powers are in the dark green. As you can see, the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria are initially neutral, but again, they'll end up joining Austria, Hungary, and Germany with the Central Powers. Portugal, Italy, and Romania and Greece initially remain neutral, but they end up joining the Allies. So we have this renewed sense of patriotism. Remember that patriotism is your love for your country and that you celebrate your country, whereas nationalism becomes where you think you're superior, and that leads to resentment and, obviously words, and then usually violence against those who are not part of that group. But this nationalism often also entails around ethnicities. So as I was telling you guys in class yesterday, as you can see, the women are joining the men. These men are excited about going, again, because of various writings in novels and such. And there had been peace for so long that war had really been romanticized and glamorized. Now, because of patriotism, issues like disputes in labor or conflict between like businesses and what have you kind of subside because people become very proud and want to represent their country. So again, it's very odd how the men approach this, but again, it comes from all this, the idea that war is really not a big deal. And these men often went in thinking that war would be, a few months tops. They figured they'd be home in a few months. They never dreamed it would last for as many years as it did. And this here is at the end of our notes. So if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know and proceed to the activity that I have listed with your notes. And I will see you guys next week. Don't forget that Friday, you also need to complete your activity there as well.